Now, you know we like to give you good service here at the Independent Republic of Mike Graham, so I'm delighted to say I'm joined by Ricky Freelove, our erstwhile roving reporter. I don't know what we call you now, because you're very senior now, aren't you?
Well, I won't go that far.
You're sort of higher and above these kinds of things normally, but very kindly he offered to go and buy a copy of the Harry book Spare in a bookshop not a million miles away from the office, and here it is. Was it a difficult thing to purchase? Did you have to clamber over a lot of people to get to the till?
Not at all.
Really?
Not at all. There wasn't a single person in the bookshop. I asked the cashier how many he'd sold that day, and he wasn't entirely sure. So I said, well, we're talking 10 to 20. He said about 30, but he wasn't exactly the sharpest tool in the box.
Was he not?
No, so I wouldn't bank on him to give us an accurate answer. But no, there's
and this is in a busy bookshop in the centre of a London railway station.
Very, very busy station, a lot of footfall, and there are tens and tens and tens. So anyone that, got up at silly o'clock in the morning to try and be the first one to buy it, don't worry. You're fine. There are loads in the bookshops. Don't stress yourself out.
Absolutely right. Now, we tasked you with an unusual task, not to give us the absolute gobsmacking revelations that we've been hearing about, but actually just to find some really dull passages in the book, because I imagine quite a lot of Harry's life would be quite dull.
Oh, it's very, very dull. And look, we know it's been translated and leaked, and most of it's already been released in this ITV programme as well. So all the good stuff's basically gone. So now, if you're going to read 400 pages of dirge, you might as well find the real good stuff. So I'm about halfway in, 200 pages in so far, and let me tell you, it will send you off to sleep. So if you need help getting to sleep at night, it is one for you. So we'll start. Right at the beginning of the book, he makes reference to a quote by William Faulkner, which is really quite remarkable. But one of the other themes which he talks about is memory. He's got a real obsession about memory and how he remembers things from his youth. He also says how he won't go into verbatim about exact conversations he had with people, and then goes on to have conversations which he had with people.
In the same way that the Queen said the recollections may vary, so his memory's not that good.
Well, no, clearly not. So look, we'll start from here.
Okay.
And this is him talking about his memory. And I won't do an impression of William.
I was going to ask you if you might do that.
No.
Okay.
I think I'll spare you that.
Right.
So we'll start with this. Why should my memory organise experiences like this? Is it genetics, trauma, some Frankenstein combination of the two? Is it my inner soldier assessing every space as a potential battlefield? Is it my innate homebody nature rebelling against a forced nomadic existence? Is it some base apprehension that the world is essentially a maze, and you should never be caught in a maze without a map? Whatever the cause, my memory is my memory. It does what it does, gathers and curates as it sees fit. And there's much more truth in what I remember, and how I remember, and is therefore a so-called objective fact. Things like chronology, cause and effect are often just fables we tell ourselves about the past. The past is never dead. It's not even past. When I discovered that quotation not long ago on brainyquote.com, I was thunderstruck. I thought, who the F is Faulkner, and how is he related to us Windsors?
Blimey.
And
I think it's time to put down the wacky backy, isn't it?
No, it really is, and there's a lot of references to that as well. But that is the quote that he opens the book with. But he literally had to Google brainyquote.com, find me a quote. Oh, that's a good one, bit of William Faulkner, I'll get that in there. It is so pretentious, the amount of literary references he makes. Harry, no one you could read. You don't need to make these references to Wordsworth. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, just to make out that you're somebody who knows a thing or two about literature. I mean, we know, for example, about what my memory tells me is that he only got 2 A-levels, I think, didn't he? Art and geography.
I think that's right. I think he got a C in art as well. So I mean, it wasn't exactly.
Well, thankfully, he hasn't given us any of his paintings alongside it.
Well,
what page are you on now?
We're on to page 27, so we're still quite early on. And this is while he's at Ludgrove Prep School. And I think what I've found here...
£28,000 a term.
What I've found here is something I think many journalists have actually gone past far too quickly. They're all looking for the fallout between Meg and Kate.
Yes.
What I found here is his love for older women, which I think we can,
Well, he's certainly given us a bit of that.
Yeah, so we'll start at Ludgrove Prep School.
Yes.
I had a crush on Miss Roberts. I felt certain I'd marry her one day. I also recall there being 2 Miss Lynns, Miss Lynn Major and Miss Lynn Minor. They were sisters. I was deeply smitten with the latter. I reckoned I'd marry her too. So already he's made himself out a bigamist, but I'll hold the thought. Don't worry about that, right? 3 times a week after dinner, the matrons would assist the youngest boys with nightly wash. I can still see the long row of white baths, each with a boy reclining like a little pharaoh awaiting his personalised hair washing. For older boys who reached puberty, there were 2 tubs in a separate room behind a yellow door. The matrons came down the row of the tubs with stiff brushes, bars of floral soap. Every boy had his own towel embossed with a school number. Mine was 116. After shampooing a boy, the matrons would each ease back his head, give him a slow and luxurious rinse. Confusing as hell. Matrons would help with the crucial extraction of lice. Outbreaks were common. Nearly every week another boy would come down with a fierce case. We'd all point and laugh. Nya, nya, you've got nits. That's how it's written, by the way, italicised as well, so you know when it's his voice.
I'm feeling a bit grubby now.
Before long, a matron would be kneeling over the patient, rubbing some solution into his scalp, then scraping out the dead beasts with a special comb. As a 13-year-old, I graduated with the matronly bathing assistants, but I still depended on their nightly tuck-ins, still treasured their morning greetings. They were the first faces we saw each day. They swept into our rooms, threw open our curtains. Morning, boys! Bleary, I'd gaze up into a beautiful visage framed by a halo of sun.
Blimey.
Absolutely beautiful.
What a tough old life he's had.
Look, and you can see where he got a taste of an older woman, can't you?
Yeah,
and
you can.
that continues through. Matron?
Yeah, OK, then. Well, I mean, none of this surprises me. This is exactly what I thought it would be like, so I'm pleased that you're kind of actually giving me precisely what I imagined it would be.
Look, absolutely. And look, this is like a classic public school education, the very highest level. You're having a matron that's, washing your hair at night. Come on. You've not exactly had it too bad, have you? You fancied a lot of them as well.
There are many people who have had tougher upbringings than this. Let's face it.
Well, just a few. Right. Moving on, still at school, talking about his love for sweets. This is page 29 for those interested in wanting to read this at home. We called them grub days. They were Tuesday, Thursday and Saturday, I think. So even then, recollections may vary. Yeah. Immediately after lunch, we'd queue in the corridor along the wall, craning to see, just ahead, the grub table piled high with sweets, munchies, Skittles, Mars bars and, best of all, opal fruits. I took great offence when Opal Fruits changed their name to Starburst. Pure heresy, like Britain changing its name. Just the sight of that grub table made us swoon. Mouths watering, we talk about the impending sugar rush as farmers in a drought talk about a forecast of rain. Meanwhile, I devised a way of supersizing my sugar rush. I'd take all my opal fruits and squeeze them together into one massive gobstopper, then jam it inside the side of my mouth. As the wad melted, my bloodstream would become a frothy cataract of dextrose. Whatever they handeth find to do it with thy might.
Crikey.
He's absolutely mental.
That's just rubbish, isn't it?
Man, there's 400 pages of this absolute dirge. It goes on and on and on. Some therapist has told him to write this all down. They didn't say publish it all.
Right.
It's absolutely mental.
You're supposed to burn it. You're supposed to write it down and then burn it. That's what you're meant to do.
That's what he should do. Do you want one more? Have we got time for one more?
Go on. You spoilers, ambassador.
I know.
Come on then.
We're talking about shaving his head at Eton.
Thank God for that.
Here we go. OK. Someone suggested that my hair was a complete disaster. Like grass on the moors. Well, what can be done?
Well, he had some then.
Well, obviously he's sort of...
He's definitely... There's something going on with his hair.
Something's going on.
We'll
a bit
come on
wiry
to that
now for my
time,
Let me have a go at it, says up here. Let me have a shave at it. I wanted to be a top bloke, a funny bloke. All right, so someone fetched the clippers, someone pushed me into a chair. How quickly, how blithely, after a lifetime of healthy hair growth, it all went cascading off my head. When the cutter was done, I looked down. Saw a dozen pyramids of ginger on the floor, like red volcanoes seen from a plane.
Sorry.
He's quite a writer, isn't he? And I knew I'd made a legendary mistake. I ran to the mirror, suspicion confirmed. I screamed in horror. My mates screamed too with laughter. I ran in circles. I wanted to reverse time. I wanted to scoop up the hair from the floor and glue it back on. I wanted to wake from this nightmare. Not knowing where else to turn, I violated the sacred rule, the one shining commandment, never to be broken. I ran upstairs to Willie's room. Of course, there was nothing Willie could do. I was just hoping he'd tell me it would be okay. Don't freak out. Keep calm, Harold. Instead, he laughed like the others. He recalled sitting in his chair, bent over a book, chuckling, while I stood before fingering the nubs of my newly bare scalp.
God almighty. Well, all I've got from Steve here in Ursula, please stop. Stop. For heaven's sake. That's appalling, isn't it?
We're only a tenth of the way through there.
I mean,
there's a lot
about
more to
sex
come.
awards every year from literary giants. I wonder if you can have just a bad prose award for that.
Well, look,
and they give you zip out of 10, nothing.
It gets
nada.
Worse and worse and worse. So I think maybe he should have spent a bit longer, working hard at school.
Yes.
Going off that.
Well, I mean, obviously there's not much going on between his ears, is there? Unfortunately for him. Thank you very much indeed, Ricky Freelove there, with what can only be described as the best critique ever of Harry's book. You don't need anything else now. You don't need to buy it because you've now heard what it's actually like.